the Property Pod. Welcome to the Property Pod with Moneyweb. The property sector is an ever-changing sector. And in this podcast series, your host, Suren Naidu, chats to movers and shakers in the property industry.
Hello and welcome to the Property Pod, South Africa's premier property investor podcast. On this weekly Moneyweb show, we gain insider insights from leading CEOs, analysts, developers and entrepreneurs in the country's dynamic real estate sector. As you know, my name is Suren Naidu. I'm the deputy editor at Moneyweb and I've covered the property sector for over 2 decades, including the tourism sector. And as mentioned last week, with it being September and Tourism Month in South Africa, our podcasts for the month have a tourism theme. We've got a guest on the pod this week who's been in the industry for several years now and has worked with various hotel groups. She recently joined Banyan Group and her name is Jerry Flanagan. Although the group may be somewhat unfamiliar in the SA and African market, it's a big player in Asia and other global cities. I believe it's based out of over 20 countries, but it's headquartered out of Singapore. Interestingly enough, Jerry has joined as a development director, but he's based out of Cape Town, and that's what piqued my interest to get her on the pod to tell us why and more about the group. Jerry, welcome to the Property Pod.
Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Can you share a bit of your background and career? I've checked your LinkedIn profile out, but I was trying to get you when you were with another hotel group, but we just paused it until you joined Banyan. Can you give us some insights on your background?
Yes, sure thing. It's actually quite a funny story. So when I was at university in Stellenbosch, I was intent on studying medicine. And realized that if I wanted to specialize in pathology, it would take me too long and I'd be studying for years. So I decided to pivot to finance and then moved to London to work from there for a bit. And on the way home, I stopped in Dubai to visit some friends, was called in for an interview with Starwood Hotels and Resorts at the time, which was subsequently obviously acquired by Marriott. And the gentleman interviewing me was Eli Yunus. He's now the Global Chief Development Officer at Radisson Hotel Group. And he offered me my first role in hotel development and was instrumental in sort of a number of the moves I made subsequently. So I started off with development, legal, technical services, sort of supporting across the functions there and learning the ropes from the best in the industry at the time. So really lucky, and then subsequently held roles in development with Millennium and Copthorne based in Abu Dhabi, and moved home for a role with Hilton to oversee their Southern African development community expansion, Accor for the past 3 years, and then recently obviously joining Banyan Group.
So quite a few big international groups. When was that first the tourism or hospitality bug bit in Dubai? How long ago was that?
It was 17 years ago, so 2008. And I didn't know anything about the industry at all. I mean, my first question that Eli asked, I said to him, I'm going to be very honest with you, I know nothing. The best I can tell you is how your share price has been performing over the past few years. And he was incredible. So just sort of saw potential and gave me the opportunity to start somewhere.
I'm sure it's a very exciting industry, but a lot has happened not just on the mergers and acquisitions front, but also with COVID and you can see some of your transitions. Talking about transitions, what does your role as development director at Banyan Group entail and what are the plans for the group?
No, I can give you sort of a broad answer, I guess. So I joined Banyan on the 1st of July this year to oversee their development expansion across the African continent. They are growing their development team, so hopefully soon we'll have focused development colleagues in separate regions focusing on sort of North Africa. We've got a terrific guy in Europe, someone in South America, 2 people in North America, and then obviously expansive in Asia where the majority of our properties are. So Banyan for me was very much aligned with my passion for sustainability, where everything that Banyan develops, they do so purposefully and for the greater good, which I loved. And at Banyan, we try to align with our owners and investors who have the same vision that we have to create exceptional design-led experiences across hotels, spas, residences, dining and retail. And we try and do that in unique and memorable destinations. So for Banyan in Africa, we're wanting to grow strategically in key destinations across the continent.
So on to my next question then. As I said, it piqued my interest that you're based out of Cape Town, so it almost like gave it away. But how serious is the group about expanding in Africa? Are they looking at South Africa, or is it more from a safari perspective and more perhaps the likes of Kenya and North Africa?
So all of it. So we're very focused on Africa as a continent, very bespoke destinations, as I mentioned. We currently have 2 trading properties in Africa, both of them on Morocco and our Banyan Tree and Angsana Heritage Collection brands. We've got 3 properties in our development pipeline. So a Dawa branded hotel, which is our upper mid-scale brand, and that's in Benin. We've got a Banyan Tree resort under development in Mozambique and a Banyan Tree escape in Ruaha National Park in Tanzania. That one opens in the coming months. And we're sort of looking at locations which are authentic resorts, lodges, difficult to get, places where other operators might not want to go, other brands. Really part of a circuit, something really exceptional. So, and then obviously higher growth with our economy to mid-scale and premium brands as well. So more city branded residence, for example, is a big growth area for us as well.
I didn't realize there's one so close to home, just across the border in Mozambique. How far is that development? When can we look at that opening? And it's interesting because obviously Mozambique has had a difficult last year. In fact, just this week, Southern Sun gave a highlight and talked about the impact of Mozambique on their business with some of the election issues that they faced.
Yeah, it is challenging. I mean, you know how it is in Africa. It sort of ebbs and flows in different markets. The Mozambique property was signed a number of years ago, so long before my time. It's on 2 very unique islands in the north of Mozambique. And then COVID happened and they were on hold for a while. We're now supporting the owner to bring them back up and complete to open them. So really exciting properties, fly-in destinations that very few people will have the privilege to visit, but really exceptional.
Jerry, tell us more about Banyan Group. Now, I know the name Banyan Tree more than Banyan Group, but it's quite a big player. You mentioned, I'm aware rather, that it's based out of Singapore, but give us some history behind the group, its other brands and the scale, because it's we're seeing more new brands coming to Africa now, brands that, unlike the big US brands, you're getting brands from Europe. You were previously at Accor. Just a year or 2 ago, NH came to Sandton with taking over the old Hilton there. So there seems to be interest by other brands in Africa.
No, there certainly is, and it's definitely growing. So Banyan founders originally acquired a site in Laguna Phuket. So it was an old tin mine which they revitalized the area over the course of a whole decade. It took a lot longer, but they wanted to transform the land into a thriving ecosystem. So 1994, 10 years later, the group's first flagship resort, the Banyan Tree Phuket, opened its doors. So that one is the embodiment of sustainability, discovery, wellness, and romance for travel. And that's where the group was founded. So subsequently, it's grown to 12 brands, which we have ranging, as I mentioned earlier, from our economy folio brand all the way to ultra luxury brand Banyan Tree. And then obviously Angsana, which is also well known. So we have lesser known brands which are more focused in development, but obviously for Africa, I think initially growing Banyan Tree Escape, Banyan Tree Veya, which are sort of sub-brands of Banyan Tree, and then Angsana will be key to the brand and the group's success. So we also recently opened Mandai Rainforest Resort in Banyan Tree in Singapore. That's our 100th property globally. So it's a really special homecoming to a head office, obviously headquartered in Singapore. And we're now present in 23 countries with more than 60 hotels in our development pipeline. So really, really exciting for the group.
Thanks for that, Jerry. In terms of South Africa, now you're based out of Cape Town. There is quite a few development offices by international groups in Cape Town. Are you looking more at Africa at the moment, or is Cape Town and other parts of South Africa part of possible developments coming up soon or in the next few years?
So I think definitely South Africa. I mean, Cape Town is a key destination for all the big groups. We've seen that obviously with Casada Capital Management having invested heavily in Cape Town. Onimo obviously as well. Oku that recently acquired the Ritz Hotel in Cape Town. So if we find a AAA location and a real flagship for Banyan, we definitely want to be in Cape Town. Natal North Coast, the lodges in the national parks here, and then further afield, as you mentioned earlier, Kenya, Tanzania, bespoke locations like northern Angola, Cameroon, Gambia, you name it. So, the more unique, the better for us, because it can be anything from a tent structure under our Escape brand to a more formal structure like a city hotel.
Just to conclude, there seems to be increased interest by international hotel groups investing in SA and Africa. What are some of the other insights that you have related to, you might have given away some of the hotspots, but potential gaps in the market? Is Banyan looking at more the resort as opposed to city hotels, or is it a mix? And is it a case of Banyan working as an operator, or are they also looking to invest or co-invest?
So the majority of our growth will come through management and franchise agreements. So management across our brands and then franchise for select brands. Investment, certainly, if it's strategic, through individual assets, potentially small portfolios, things like that. But then there'd need to be a really good case for it. Obviously, we'd need to do our homework really well, and it would need to be somewhere where we'd really want to be with a high visibility asset. So I think with Banyan, what makes it so much more interesting for me than the big groups, big targets for big groups, where for us it's not about high growth, it's about the right growth. So I'm looking at really, really bespoke, and as I mentioned before, authentic, perhaps boutique hotels that the other operators might not want to do because of logistics or operational challenges. We're used to that. We've got hotels in Cuba, we've got them, in remote Mexico. We are very good at managing and branding hotels in destinations like that. So difficult to get to, difficult to manage, and we make them successful through our brands.
Well, you don't have to sell it too much, because if you're based out of Singapore, then they get tourism done well. They
Correct.
Are great at their game in tourism. Jerry, thank you so much for your time, and I know you took the call while busy doing some business, so apologies to our listeners if they heard some background busyness in a hotel that Jerry's probably signing her next hotel deal in. But that was Jerry Flanagan, the Director for Business Development at the Banyan Group, and she's based out of Cape Town.
Thanks for listening to the Moneyweb Property Pod with Suren Naidu. To listen to more episodes, go to moneyweb.co.za or the Moneyweb app and follow Moneyweb News for daily updates. Follow Suren on Twitter @Suren Naidu for more of his property industry content and other business stories.